Whenever you are.
Okay, here we go, guys. We are live. I'm sorry we're 2 minutes behind. We were having a lively discussion here, and I'm just, excuse me, really excited again for another episode of TAT Talks. I've enjoyed doing this. I have great speakers and individuals with great insight that they have to share. And true to form, we have Stefan Bati. I think that's your LinkedIn. I see that on your LinkedIn, but everywhere else I see Sambaza.
Yeah, Sambaza.
Sambaza. I want to get that correct. And then I'll let you speak on, on the where it originates from and to tie into what you do in podcasting and business. You were just recently home in Kenya,
Right.
Republic
I
of
was there.
Kenya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
You
so
know,
yeah.
it's funny when you talk about the LinkedIn thing. I'm just smiling here because I'm doing a journalism class. I'm into journalism
Correct.
right now. So the class talks about how to introduce yourself without giving yourself a title or something.
Correct.
It's more like how you introduce yourself. So that's why I go by Sambaza. I
Okay.
don't want people going to know me as Stephen Bati because Stephen Bati is me, my private
Yes.
life.
Yes.
Sambaza is something hosting for the podcast. So it's really interesting when you say that you went to the LinkedIn account. I was like,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
one
no, you
did you
gotta look.
go? There are two. There's Sambaza's and there's
Oh
my
yeah.
personal. So it's an interesting class. I just started it, and it's kind of eye opening. In
Okay.
those, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's something you should also speak about. I think that's part of how you just said people present themselves, what they want to be known, what they want to put out into the universe, whether it's social media, whether it's networks and contacts. Do they do one? Do they do both, depending on the situation? And so that I would love to have you speak on that as we continue in this conversation too. And so like I said, my name is Roedi Ruben Giraro. I am the host of TAT Talks, which is the African think tank talks, opportunity to connect with individuals who have participated in some way, shape, or form with the African think tank. It gives our invitees, our guests, to share about themselves. So there's really no research needed here because we're talking about the person, or the person's going to be talking about themselves and what is interesting to them. I'm in conversation. I have two already guests lined up, and that's why I tell them, hey, that was like, what's the topic? I'm like, the topic is you. All right, share what you want the audience to know. Share as much as you so desire. So we give you the platform. And I know, Sambaza, you've been a strong partner of the African think tank. You have come to a number of our events. That's where we're connected. The thing that really stands out for me about you is just your man. You got a great laugh, bro. When you when you get like comes from the gut. It's like he's got something to put out there. I saw you interact with I think some, yeah, your fellow Kenyans with other Africans at the last event. I was like, man, this guy, you can hear him from the other side of the room, but that's great. uh so without I think further ado, I just want to really give you the floor to really start with presenting who you are, as far as like maybe we can work, like where did Sambaza come from? Where does he come from? What was your experiences as a young child, as a young person? Some things that may have incidents or circumstances or just life experience that have kind of shaped you now. And then we can jump into I want to hear a lot more about your podcast and the subjects that you cover, but let's start there and just take it a little bit at a time.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. We'll take a long time if you want to know about my life, but
Yeah.
I'll give you a short synopsis of how I am. I'm born from Kenya, originally in from Mombasa. Uh,
Hmm.
they I grew up on the beach. We had a great family setting,
I
parents,
want to hear a lot more.
teachers,
Hmm.
and we were just say a regular family. Grew up, and then I had to go to boarding school. I went to a boarding school that was called Nairobi School. For those who know it, it's one of those we call them group of schools, but they were colonial. They were started by colonialists and then became one of the better schools out there. Spent 4 years, and then after that, I was an avid painter. So I call myself a retired painter, or a graphic artist. I do paint, but I stopped. Something which my daughter picked up. I never told her about painting, but she has the love for painting. So that's something that she's got into. And I was like, okay, good. I'll just let her be. Um, so I studied graphic design, then decided to immigrate to the United States about my age of, let me age myself here, at about 26, 27 years old. And yeah, then started life. This was back in 2000 until 2020, until now. I think I'm doing 25 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
Um, Everything that I've done so far has shaped my life, with me just moving around. Um, I think for me, my my mantra in life was, when I see something, I go for it. And when I go for it, I'm like, okay, now we've gotten it. What else? Goals that were set up were not too tough or too hard that I would not achieve. I don't like to set goals that were out there that I would not be able to achieve. I mean, like, hey, when you want to say I want to be the next billionaire, yeah, I could be the next billionaire, but let's start with the first millionaire or $100,000 person.
Yeah.
So that's how I set myself up. And with these small achievements, I've made myself be able to, small things get you up there, and you get to, these small wins. And when you add them up, you look at it and say, like, wow, when I look back and the quality of work I've done, it's been great.
Mhm.
My personal life, that I go by.
Mhm.
And I want to say at some point, I used to be outgoing. And then
Mhm.
at some point, I kind of shunned myself and kind of stayed out quiet until very recently that I started now coming out of a shell. I think the podcast is what made me come out of a shell. And I wanted to become somebody who brings people together. Now with the podcast, that's how it came about. It's 5 years now. Actually, I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Wow.
I haven't celebrated with a cake, by the way. I need to do that.
We got to throw a party, man. Invite us over. We'll have
Yeah,
a,
man. I'm telling
we'll
you,
have a whole podcast discussion around your birthday, man. What were the things?
5 ain't no joke. 5 ain't no joke. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, But when
Uh,
you look at it,
yeah.
uh, in the 5 years, I think that's what made me come out of my shell. Um, I started the podcast. We're going to get into the podcast, but I want to talk about how I came to this realization now, as you know me, uh,
Mhm.
looking out for other people out there, bringing Africans together. That was part of my journey to realization of, what am I doing in this world? I've done
Mhm.
I've done so much. I've been here for so many years. What's the legacy I want to leave? What is it that people will know me for? I don't want to be, and this is the other thing. I don't want to be the next big manager, or you with a title that comes up first, like, oh, I'm the CEO for so and so. No, I don't want that. I want
Mhm.
a person that walks into a room and people look at me for who I am, right? Um, I and that's kind of like how I like to lead with my life. So with that being said, I have been able to now immerse myself into the community. That's how I came to find out about the African think tank. I came to also work with my Kenyan crew over here in Forney, Texas, where we just create events. And with those events, we just come together and break bread together. And, you know, uh, what I look at is, let's hang out together. Let's talk together. It may be for an hour or two, but the thing is, when you leave the whole, when you leave the scene, or when you leave from there, you may have learned a thing or two from a person who has been sitting there. And with these communications and these meetups that we've been having, they have been successful. We're
Mhm.
moving to greater heights now.
Mhm.
Meeting you, man, look, you made the event great, because I remember the first time when I came, I was so shy and I was like, okay, what am I doing here? And I was like, okay. But when you came in, you created this atmosphere where you made me feel like I belonged. And considering that you came from Chad, I've never met somebody from Chad before. You're the first ever person. So
You don't know how many times I heard that, man. It's like, oh,
that's
fellow
a
Chad.
flex.
No, yeah.
That's a flex. Remember that. That's a flex.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
somebody tells you, "Hey," because you're rare.
Yeah.
And it's a proud moment when you look at
Yeah.
it, because you want to meet everybody from Africa, and there are
Yeah.
these countries where you hardly ever meet somebody. I just met a guy from Togo, the other
Oh,
day, riffing with him. Yeah, and I was like, wow,
okay.
okay. Then he tells me about his country of Togo.
Yep.
See, these meetups and these meeting of people from different places make you learn about something that you probably never learn in your history lessons or your cultural lessons that you were taught somewhere, or social studies. So I think the best thing I believe is Pan Africanism, where we meet up together, we break bread together, not with the Kenyans. I've met Kenyans, I've hung out with Kenyans. We have our way of interacting. Now I want to know about the Kenyans. I want to know about the Nigerians. I want to know about the Chadians. I want to know about the Egyptians, South Africans, and what have you. A great group that I've joined is called the APVA.
Hmm. Oh, guys, we lost him. Let's see if we can get back. What happened? What happened? Please bear with us here a second. I'm sure he's going to jump on, connect with him, and find out what happened. That's the first. Oh, here he is.
Hey, what
Hey,
happened?
I don't know what I was just asking the same. What happened?
I'm
That's the
like,
first time. Oh,
I'm
you.
thinking,
I think you're about to get deep, and so something doesn't is about to say something that got cut off. I don't know what happened, but let's continue on. Let's make it happen. Hey, before we continue, please ask questions, guys. If you have questions you want to ask during here, they'll pop up, and I will definitely ask Sambaza, and he'll be able to see them as well. So this is an interactive. So continue about you connected with the Togolese, the Kenyans. Yeah.
yeah. So now I've gotten to a place where I think we need to connect with more people. Part of my process of learning about people and various ways of knowing about communities and being more communal, because we're always going to be a community, either by way of my next door neighbor. They become my community first, and then I create a greater community. So mine is to be with the African people, and
Mm.
to anytime when I can break bread with them and help out, I am there like a problem. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's me.
Like I said, I am there like a problem. I can use that. I am there like a problem. I want to. Can I borrow that, brother? Somebody,
Sure,
I like
go
that.
ahead.
I'll be there like a problem.
Sure, sure.
All right.
So, uh, now when we go back to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Uh, 2019, I want to talk more. I buy this Yeti, want to set up a podcast. Don't know what the podcast is all about, but I have the idea. I work so hard, but that I don't have enough time. So I decided to put my stuff on hold. And then when I checked the prices, for hosting, those were expensive at that time. Then the pandemic happens, and one day I wake up and I'm like, wait a minute, I have a mic somewhere. I think I can use it. So I got my mic and then started fiddling around. Spent a month or two looking at the podcast, and then now started thinking about doing a podcast. First of all, it was going to be a Swahili podcast, hence the
Mm.
word Sambaza. Now, what does
Mhm.
Sambaza mean? Sambaza is a Swahili word which means to spread. you
Hmm.
know so Sambaza podcast, that means the podcast to spread. What also helps the podcast is, in Kenya we have a cell phone carrier, or
Mhm.
a telephone carrier that uses the word Sambaza, which means to send. Like if I want to send you money or I want to send you tokens, they use that word Sambaza. So it kind of helps the product somewhat, but I have to be careful when I use Sambaza. I have to use Sambaza podcast, otherwise I guess I might
Mm.
get into some copyright issues. But that can be taken care of, I'm sure.
Mhm.
So Sambaza is the product. Sambaza podcast is the podcast name. Sambaza is me, the host. Then I decided, okay, what do we talk about? Well, the issue here is more like you want to be candid about ourselves. right? So I started thinking about, hey, what's the best thing I can do with the podcast? First of all, I tried Swahili, and the problem why I failed with Swahili is because of the niche, and two, my Swahili was bad. I mean, I've
Mm.
lived here for 20 plus years. For all that people know, your language will kind of go
But
off
yeah.
because it's for so long. So that one was out of question. It wasn't going to happen. Though, if you look at my notes, my original notes, one day when I write a book, you'll probably see my original notes were this is going to be a Swahili podcast. So we changed, and I decided, okay, fine, we're going to do it in English because more people, and what's the topics about? So I just decided, let me take regular topics. Like I would talk about, let's say, child rearing or um, with, politics,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Um, let's say we'll take a topic about politicians, though I don't like to be political, but let's talk about. I hate politics, by the way. I love policies. I hate politics. Two different things. So let's talk about how politics is. We'll take politics in America, where I'll talk to an African American and ask them about the politics. First of all, my podcast is strictly African podcast.
Mhm.
I tether around with now. Sometimes I bring in a white person, but it kind of gets me in trouble sometimes when I go into these spaces where there are white people, and I'm trying to explain my podcast, and then they're like, "Hey, what kind of podcast do you do?" I'm like, "Well, my podcast deals with blah 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 blah." Who do you have on your podcast? Hmm. So, so I'm a bit getting into a bit of a sticky situation when I go into those spaces, but
Yeah.
I'm trying. I haven't gotten how to get around it, but it's getting there. Practice, practice.
Mhm.
So so I take an African American and then I take a diasporan like me, would discuss about the politics here. Then I would take somebody like you who's in Chad, or somebody who's in Chad, not from Chad, who's in
Mhm.
Chad, who is from anywhere, Egypt, and then ask you a question. I will have the topic about politics. And then finally I'll do one from Kenya.
Mm.
Have these five or so episodes where we're going to talk about politics. So you follow these episodes and you're like, okay, what is common about these topics? It's something that is, the politicians are the same. I think politicians are the same anywhere. They're just a bunch of um tail twisters, tail twisters. So um, with that, I leave my audience thinking like, okay, now what's the bigger question? What do you think about it? If politics are the same, what can you if a politician from Kenya was to come here, they have the same mentality. So what do you expect when you meet them
Mm.
here, or what do you expect when they talk to people here? If they're going to talk about your plight, are they going to think it politically, or are they going to think about it in a human type of deal? Uh, see, these are the questions that leave you on the podcast. So
Mhm.
that's pretty much all. Most of what the podcast is all about. Come 2024, yeah, 2024. Now we were in a collective of podcasters, and this lady Jen not decides, but she asked me, "Hey, I'm doing something for Martin Luther King. Why don't we do 4 episodes on this month, Black History Month?" So we do the Black History Month together for 4 podcasts, and then after that, we'd say, you know what, let's go on, and it's been running ever since. So once a week, we get somebody who we'll have a conversation with, or we'll have a conversation on our own. But the thing about the topics that we have, they're intentional topics. Monthly, depending on which month it is, we'll try and figure out a topic, and then we'll bring in guests. Our angle is usually of the African American angle, where I bring in my African angle as a diaspora, and also my thinking as a guy, and we have these great conversations together.
Mm.
So that's what's been the basis of this particular podcast. As a podcaster, you have to grow. So I started off, doing my solo project, which I still do, and then now we are doing a project together, and then I still do other things out there like challenges. Actually, challenges are great.
Mm.
also I have gone into speaking engagements. So I'll speak when I can. Next year, I should be speaking at Podfest 2026. I'll be speaking there. I've spoken at Afros and Audio Festival. We got this African, man, let me tell you, this was a great thing. It was an African, five podcasters,
Yeah.
and we sat down and talked about Africa and podcasting. Let me tell you, by the time we finished that,
Yeah.
people coming to us and they were like, "Man, look, guys, we want to thank you." It brought a different idea of how podcasting is done in Africa and how Africa is viewed in terms of podcasting, and it was phenomenal. I'll tell you,
Mhm.
it's a great podcast that we put up last year. This year there's going to be one, and that's it.
Zenith, sorry to interrupt you. Zenith is part of that. Zenith from Zambia.
Yes,
That's how
she's
I found out about that. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
she's going to be there, and I, this year I decided to kind of take a backseat on some of the things that I'm doing because I'm looking at other things on the foreground. One other thing as a podcaster, I want to tell people, do challenges. Like you can do a challenge. I did a 30-day challenge where for 30 days I listened to 30 different podcasts. 30 different podcasts. Imagine. And out of that, let me tell you, you will learn a lot of things about Africa. A lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
I did one for Seychelles. This one stood out. It was for Seychelles and talked about slavery on Seychelles. Have you ever heard anything about slavery in Seychelles?
Well,
But this lady
first,
did a 7 episode. Go ahead.
wow, no, that's good because number one, I do know Seychelles as an African country. That's one of the things that pops up is that the our own ignorance of our continent, right? It is such a vast continent with just so much going on, and yeah, that 30 days just only scratched the surface of meeting. And then you talk about the specific issues in every particular country. So, for example, so Seychelles, it is an African country, and but I don't know what you're around. What was it? Slavery?
Yes.
What was one of the things that stuck out about that conversation with Seychelles, particularly in slavery?
So it's all about how the people came to live there and what they did in terms of the slavery. They had the country is mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Descendants of slaves, and there are people who are original people who are from there, and then there are people who are brought in, the slaves, and then there are original people who are in there, and then there were slave masters. Now this lady who did this podcast, she was a descendant of a slave master, and she brought this idea of how there's still some type of tension right now,
Mm-hmm.
ones who are there and who are locally there. But out of all this, you think that you'd get a bad impression of what it is, but she sometimes went and fantasized about how it was and made it a nice story to whereby even though it was bad, there were some instances where there was a story where she made the slaves sound like they won things were becoming better, even though it's slavery. Let's not forget that. But
Mm-hmm.
at some point she showed that the slaves had an upper advantage, with how they escaped, how they lived, the maroons and all that. Everything is the same as when you talk about the maroons that were happening down in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
with slavery. Same thing. I'll tell you one thing I also got. When you go to discover wars in
Mm-hmm.
Africa, the South Africa, the Boer
Yeah.
War, and things happen. When you follow that, you will come to realize that whatever is happening right now has already happened before in history. You don't have to search far. Go back to history. These things that are happening, they just keep happening. It's just a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is all that's changing. But the things that they do, or these atrocities, they have learned it from somebody. And we go back in history, same old thing, same old thing. So I learned that. After that, so I went to TikTok with this 30-day challenge, and I think that's what I'm going to talk about in Podfest, about that 30-day challenge, what became of it. I highlighted everyone who was there, who I listened to. I did a highlight of them, and I put a blog post I have a blog every month that comes out. It's called Jabba with Sambaza. Jabba is to talk with Sambaza. So I have that blog post that comes out every month. Now I'm into writing. Um, with that 30-day challenge, what it did is I highlighted people and I got to know more people, more
Hmm.
podcasters. Now, my next goal is to have a word with the podcaster to come on my podcast and we have this talk with them if they're available. And then let's see what comes out of there. Maybe a book about what
Hmm.
they're thinking about in terms of podcasting as African podcasters. But I'll tell you this, it created a connection with more African podcasters just by that challenge. And I was really impressed by
Hmm.
what I learned. So that's what I can say right now. And I'll bring all the questions, throw me all the questions now. Let's-
Well, guys, please jump on. This is a good opportunity to not only just the host ask questions, but you, the viewers, across an array of subjects, because it seems like you've covered, or you covered, and you continue to cover, and there's other subjects you will cover any subject that's really Afrocentric, because your love for the people and the continent and getting the word out and opportunities for people to share the ideas and opinions is very important. I love the backstory on the word Sambaza. I don't know who this. Sorry, I misspoke on the Stefan guy. I don't know who that was. Sorry, it came out of nowhere. Sambaza is that, and learning a lot of words from Kenya. So it's Swahili, right?
yes.
Sambaza. Okay, all right.
And
Because
I make everything of mine intentional. Like when I
yeah.
name names everywhere, I have to use go by Swahili. So there's Sambaza podcast, then there's Jabba with Sambaza. You see, Jabba is a slang to,
Hmm.
but Jabba is like a fib. It's not true. It's,
Okay.
no, but the stories are true. It's just
Yeah.
that we talk
Yeah.
about Jabba and Sambaza. So I'm very intentional about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take. I mean, you cover a lot. I I I think the diversity when you were talking about Africa, like when you say white people, are you speaking of Americans? Are you speaking because I mean there's a diversity in Africa, and I tell people in Zambia when I was there, very different from Chad, of course. So I'm walking in the mall, and I don't know why it dawned on me. Like I'm sitting here, I'm like, there's definitely a lot of white people and Indians here. I'm like it, and then my history as far as that part of the continent started coming back to me because it used to be Rhodesia, right? The history there, right? And the English moving there and dominating it, and you had uh and later becoming Zimbabwe and Zambia, and a lot of individuals of the English descent still live there and are maybe third, fourth generation, and the tensions that exist there. So so I think my question is the diversity of Africa. So we look at there's definitely cultural diversity,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah.
diversity throughout the country. If you go north of Chad, you're looking more, and you go to Algeria, you're looking more of a connection to Europe, especially in those areas, right? But the Africans, and then I think Egypt has a whole new thing. I'm not a whole new thing, but you talk to the, we're not Africans, but you're on the continent, right? So I think how do you handle or how do you portray actually the diversity of Africa that's just more than cultural and just more than skin tone too, because every time we go, it's like, okay, you think of Africa, you think of people like that look like us, right? But there's also history. You talk about Uganda with Idi Amin, and you had the whole bunch of the Indians from India who were there in that history in that part of East Africa. I don't know how Kenya fits into all that, so you can educate me on that. But there's that colonial footprint with people still there. So.
So when you talk about Africa, it's Africa today, right?
Mm,
It's more diverse than it
mm,
was before. Now, with settlers that have lived there for so many years, you cannot call them not. You cannot call them. Well, they're white. Yes, I'll take that. They're white, but they're African. They're white. We call them white Africans. I call
mm-hmm,
them Africans. I'll tell you this joke. I was trying to do a podcast. I'm still on the works where because I have a son,
mm.
and I have this friend of mine. He has a son who he's from South Africa, and he has
Okay.
a son who was born in the U.S. And one day he comes jokingly and tells me, "Hey, my son is African American, right?" Wait a minute. I gotta take a pose here for a minute. I'm like, wait, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Because my son is African American, his mother is American, and I'm African. So now when the two kids stand together, when you look at them, because they both swim, and you're like, yeah, those two boys are African Americans, but one's white and one's black. It,
Mhm.
it didn't dawn on me, but so that's one of the things. And just to throw this in, as a South African, as a white South African, he did get to experience racism living.
Mm.
So just because you're white and you come from Africa doesn't sometimes give you the advantage as you think, because
Mhm.
you find out you're from Africa, the mode changes, the shift changes. So I like Africa being more diverse, with the fact that we do have white people, we do have Indians, we do have a plethora of people.
Mhm.
I try to make sure that I am conversant with what lies around, and you have to be very careful, especially especially when you deal with Africans. Africa is not a monolith, as I say.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's got diverse people, diverse cultures. There's something that I can say, like my hi might not mean hi in your language, might mean an
Yeah.
insult. So
Mhm.
there is situations where when you go in, you just have to be careful about it. And I love that about Africa, and I love that we have all people of different walks of life. And I know even in Zambia, I think there are Chinese who are actually have lived there for a while now, have become citizens of Zambia. Is it Zambia or Malawi? I think Zambia. Zambia has.
And Zimbabwe, because my guest before you
Uh,
was no, the one before this
yes,
was Judy Meeks.
Judy. Yes,
She's third generation Zimbabwean, born and raised, went to school and everything in Zimbabwe, right? Didn't come to the U.S. until like later on in her life, but her whole life was there. So that population does exist. Yeah.
we have the same amount of time. She came in 2000, like I did. We had a
Hmm.
conversation with her, and I was like, "Wow, okay, you
Yeah.
are from." Yeah, she said, "Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
from
Yeah. Speaks the
Zimbabwe."
language, everything.
Right,
You look at it like what?
and that's the other thing about Africa. Anytime I go and speak Swahili, Swahili, I never just start speaking anything about somebody. First, I gotta look back and look around who's there, because you don't know who's there. People know
Yeah.
Swahili.
Yeah.
It's a language that everyone speaks. A lot of people speak, not everyone, but a
Hmm.
lot of people speak it. So you have to be careful about that, and that's
Hmm.
where it comes about knowing your culture and being conversant about everything. One good thing I like about the African culture is that we are very accommodating and very um, heartfelt. You know,
Hmm.
we we learn about strangers, and then we take in what we're given, and we are very what do you call it? Um, I'd like to say we are more to. I'm trying to get the word. We're very very open people, open to a lot of visitors, a lot of new things, a lot of ideas. Which did you know that in Ethiopia they love a lot of pasta. They love a lot of
Hmm.
pasta. Why is that? The Italians came and left the pasta. They were
Yeah.
never conquered. They were never conquered, but
Yeah.
the Italians left the pasta. So till today, they love it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's been brought in. They took it in and they made it theirs. They probably make it in different dishes, but that's how we are as Africans. We
Hmm.
take things and make things our own and make it better. Yeah.
And I think you that leads to a discussion. I'm going to have a guest on here. I'm excited about in a couple weeks who's from Cameroon, and her thing is around food, cooking experiences that she does in individual people's homes, so they can book her and she'll come and do an entire
Ooh.
African Cameroon meal in people's homes. They can invite guests, and she's about music. And people don't know here in the U.S., but when I first met her, I typed her name, and all these songs she had sung, popular songs in Cameroon, came up. I'm like, that's you, and she laughed. So what I'm getting at, we could talk about this because I think it ties into what you're saying is that Africa has soft power now, right? It's not, we're not talking about political power or economic power. We're trying to revamp political power more into the hands of the people. You know, there's some changes happening that way. We have looking at economic power, you know, that was held in certain places around the world, and now with the vast minerals in Africa, how do we take control of those things? But I think what we have and will continue to have and continues to grow is the soft power that translates into music and culture, and like to your point, engaging with people, right? Both on the continent as we learn from one another, and outside of the continent. And so with a lot, I think there's a lot more Congolese music that's being played in different radio stations here. You have I think the our main speaker for the African Gala is from Nigeria, and I don't know why her name slips me, but you know, getting into the realms of what's the what I'm taking of different products that we can offer. And so, can you speak to Africa's soft power in your mindset? Because that's what you do, I think, with podcasts too. It's soft power. With these
Yeah,
conversations you have, you're opening up doors on areas that people may not necessarily realize or have never thought about.
right. True.
Yeah.
And like I'll take for example, let's do the music part.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I heard Wizkid, Wizkid
Mm,
played a song, and this is my memory. Wizkid played a song, I think was with this guy from. Well, Wizkid played a song. It was a collaboration with somebody from Canada. What's his name? This rapper from Canada, but it wasn't so audible. But then here comes Burna Boy. I'll never forget.
mm.
I was in Nigeria. No, I was in Nigeria. I was in Jamaica. I was on my way back to the US on my anniversary, and we were in the morning, and I heard Burner Boy, and I remember this DJ say, "I don't know what this man is saying, but I'm gonna play this song. It's way up there from Africa." I don't know how you. There's a feeling you get that that Jamaicans right now, this morning at this time, are listening to Burner Boy from Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you get this, you come to the US, and then now Burner Boy plays. Everywhere is Burner Boy. Everywhere is Burner Boy. You know, that in itself is powerful. Then you get all these other artists coming. I know there was Fela Kuti before that, and his was more with the British and but then there's American also has a different market, because
Mhm, mhm.
another thing about America, America is its own place, and then the British is its own place, and
Yeah.
yeah. But when you look at him creating all that, and everyone is talking about Burner Boy, Burner Boy, Burner Boy, opens up for all these other Afrobeat stars that are coming out there.
Yeah.
And then now with that, you start realizing, oh, there's good African music. Then you get these producers rushing over there to try to
Mm.
figure out music and try to get at what is this that makes it great. So with us, we do have soft power. Then there's running, Kenyans.
Oh,
Was
yes.
Kenyans and running. By the way, I hate to say this, and I spoil for Kenyans. I spoil for Kenyans. I like running. Now,
Yeah.
when I start a 5K, usually they ask me. I'm usually with my bands, and they're like, "Oh, you're from Kenya? We have that Kenya." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from Kenya." Then you see people looking around. They're like, "Hey,
This
this
dude.
guy's
Yeah.
gonna take off." Man, when
Yeah.
they take off, they expect me to be on the first. They're like, "Man, this dude, where is he from?" Then nowadays, I tell them, "Look, I'm from Kenya, but not that side. The
That
runners,
that's right.
side. Yeah, not that side."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So we do have a lot of soft power. There's the
Mhm.
cooking part. There's that Ethiopian guy who cooks. Is from New York. He's a great chef.
Yeah.
His name. Then you got this. All these cultural things that we're doing, man. We're integrating the system. And one thing is a little bit at a time, it's one step forward. And that's why I told you, when I say something in Swahili bad or something bad in Swahili, I have to turn around and look who's there close by. It's not. It's like I'm speaking English. I have to be careful.
Mhm,
You know.
mhm.
So that is a soft power. Our minerals that we bring in. Yeah, you see a mineral and you be like, oh, where is it from? You're told it's from Africa. Right now, when you hear about the cell phones, the component, one of the components of cell phone that comes from Congo. Yes, it's fighting,
The
but
cobalt, yeah.
without that, you will not be able to make a call, right? But it's deep in Congo, in Africa.
You're freezing. I guess you may be about to say something important. Let's give it a
Am I
second
freezing?
here.
Am I freezing? I don't feel like I'm freezing. I
Dang
think
it.
it's can you hear me? Now
All
you're freezing.
right, here we go. He's coming back. Sorry, you froze up. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. I think you're starting to be provocative and it's picking up on it. Because I
I
can
think
already see a lot of discussions we're going to have to come back on. I'm going to be coming on your podcast, and there's going to be a lot of. But I think that's not to get away from the cobalt thing. But I think that's what we shared a little bit because I was talking to a friend when you jumped on. Is that there's a diverse as well, right? Depending on what region we're from. Because again, when someone says Africa, it it has different spaces and different locations.
right.
Right? Is he frozen again?
No, no, I can
All
hear
right,
you.
we're gonna try this. I think we're having a lot some technical. You're back. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
can
what
hear you.
this. Yeah,
It's
okay,
it's you
okay,
who's frozen.
okay. I guess it goes on both sides. You look frozen, I look frozen. We'll just converse, and at least if we hear each other, we know we're frozen. We'll just continue.
All right.
Um, so the diversity, I like that you're providing platforms for really interesting and diverse questions because it seems like I said, there's no subject off the table. But I wanna, I wanna really quickly. Someone did have a question
Mhm.
and said they don't really know how to word it. It's actually a friend of mine, and she's trying to say this correctly as much as possible, but she's wondering how, as a white woman, if there was one thing you wish you never had to explain to white/American people, what would that be? Yeah,
Mm,
one thing that you wish you never had to explain to Americans or the white people, what would that be?
I hate this idea where um, they think that we live together with animals, and I know that yes, we do in a sense, but it's not like the way Coming to America was shown. Like elephants will
Yeah,
pass. I know. One time I was sitting with my girlfriend who was African American, and that time we were watching Coming to America, the first one, and then she saw animals passing around with Eddie Murphy there, and she's like, "Oh, is that what happens in Africa?" I'm like, "Really? It's not." So those are the things that I wouldn't like to explain how it is. Um,
mm-hmm,
and then
mm-hmm.
there's this other thing that this running joke we always have with people here. Somebody tells you, "Oh, I'm from Kenya." Then it says, "Oh, I know somebody from Nigeria. Do you know that person?" Like we gotta realize where Nigeria is in Nigeria and Kenya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's how complex our countries are, and yeah,
Mm-hmm,
that's one of the things that I wouldn't want to explain, but I'm used to explaining it now.
mm-hmm.
Try I try to be a bit more cautious and understanding as to
Mm-hmm.
where they're coming from and what they know.
Yeah,
It I mean,
yeah,
you don't if you don't know, I have to tell you.
yeah.
uh, yeah.
Mhm. And I think that goes even both ways. And I use the word ignorance a lot. And it doesn't mean someone's stupid. It's just they don't know. And if you're asking questions to find out, then you're fighting against ignorance. And I realize a lot of my ignorance of the continent when I meet Cameroonians who are literally the neighbor to Chad. And I didn't know these things, though I lived next door and I lived in Cameroon for some time too. And so I'm like, oh, all of these new things are coming up. And so you extend graciousness because I'll be honest with you, sometimes when I have cousins, from home and say, hey, our cousin lives in this place called Iowa. I'm like, I think you don't know where Iowa is. It's not down the street. And there's really no big cities in Iowa, and so that whole and how it's shown on television and everything like that, and so it's for us who are interacting with individuals at a grassroots level anywhere we go, is to show graciousness, and we can distinguish between someone who is asking a question to know more versus someone who's asking a question that is denigrating and saying, I know more than you because you come from Africa. And this leads to another question. What do you think is the fear that a lot of Americans have of Africa? Because I've had friends, like I said, um, if I say, hey, you can go to Africa by yourself. You don't need to like, oh, if I go, I want to go with you because I don't. Again, it's that education piece because if they think something is happening in Sudan and I'm saying go to Zambia, they think it's like around, it's the same place, and it's like, it's very different. And so to overcome that fear of what's portrayed by others of the African continent, how do you think we counter that?
Okay, I'm going to be a bit controversial here, so bear with me.
Okay,
All
buckle
right.
in.
So Trump says there's Seattle, Oregon. In Oregon, it's a war zone, right? And the pictures you see on CNN are a war zone, right? So this lady comes in the morning and on TV on CNN and she says, "Hey, I just went with my son to the war zone and we just had coffee and we walked around and we were trying to look for where the war zone is." Now, mind you, when you hear about a war zone, it's really different. When you have to grasp the mind of a war zone, but you're only shown a picture of a street that's where the whole thing is happening. But you think about the whole of Oregon is bad, like
Mhm.
total, it's bad. So imagine somebody in Africa being told that Oregon is a war zone,
Mm.
only seeing
Mhm.
one picture that's shown over and over and over and over again. What is in their mindset? And they're in Africa. They'll be like, man, Oregon, USA, there's something bad happening in USA. In Oregon, but how big is Oregon?
Mhm.
It's just like when you hear Congo is fighting. The DRC, it has
Mhm.
three time zones
Mhm.
in one country, just like the
Yep.
US.
Mhm.
When people are fighting in Goma, these are the dudes that ain't got nothing to do with that. By the time they're trying to get to the city, they have
Yeah.
to cross like 4, 5 rivers. But when
Mhm.
we look at it, you're like, oh, the whole of DRC is under fire. No, 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 no. So
Mhm.
I think that idea of us living in a shell makes it so hard for people to want to travel out there because when they see that, they have this perception, and I think this is where news does not do justice at times. um, it will show an area and that will multiply itself in someone's mind and think of like, man, Africa is really, really a problem. I don't want to go
Mhm.
to Africa.
Mhm.
If you go into Facebook now, thanks to Facebook and thanks to TikTok and thanks to Instagram, you can go and search and look for African places that you can go to, and people will show you places, and you'll be like, "Wow, this
Mhm.
is Chad, this is Egypt." But and then you're like, "Wait a minute." I watched the news and they say it was on fire. No, it could be a small part of the country that's under fire, and you on this other side of the country having your own type of thing. So I think that's the where the major problem is, and it'll take a while for people change their minds. But I think the older generation have a problem. I was having a conversation with somebody, and they say their mom will never travel out of the country, scared of flying for a long distance, or I think it's just getting out of their shell. And I think if we can get that off, man, that will be the greatest thing that we will see as Africans, because that is tourism. America, the problem with America is to travel to Kenya or to Africa, you have to go through different, you have to go to Europe or you have to go to, don't even talk about Dubai because that's like
Mhm.
a 15-hour flight. I'm telling you, that's a tough flight to go to.
Yeah, it's a tough light.
So if we can find a way of overcoming that, or people can find a way of overcoming that, not getting used to these short flights of 4 hours, 5 hours, here and there, that will help a lot in opening up Africa. And let me tell you the best thing I always enjoy. When I get into Kenya and I'm walking around and I hear an African American speaking, I turn around and I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's working. It's
Yeah.
working. Because when I was
Yeah.
growing up, that was hardly the thing. I would see more of the Caucasian people
Yeah.
there who
Yeah.
are tourists, but now it's changing. Yeah.
No, and that's good. And I think you I address this is upon us in building relationships, right? That's what the African think tank is about. Not only are we trying to build relationships amongst the African diaspora, but amongst our friends, because it's that individual relationship that will get people thinking differently and saying, "Hey, man, I'd like to go. I'd like to go check it out. Would you recommend?" And trying to really push individuals who are going overseas. Like I've been Americans who like, oh, I need, my ancestors are from this part, especially Ghana. Ghana is a big thing. Or for this, I said, well, are you connected to any of the Ghanaian population here? They're huge, and they're like, no. Well, why won't you start here? There are so many African communities in the United States in general, and in DFW in particular. I know the growing number. That's why the Kenyans amaze me. You guys are starting to meet up with the Nigerians because now I'm meeting more and more. I met a Kenyan who speaks Nkisi. He's a friend of mine. You know, and learning about that and saying there's so many diversity here. Start with the people around you, right at your back door first, and get educated, and then you can hopefully that will continue as you segue into maybe going on the ground and learning things in the directly as well. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to look at a great model of community, look at the
Mm-hmm.
Ghanaians. They have something they call CO Council of Ghanaians in Texas or something. But if you
Mm-hmm.
search for them, they that is the main group. But in that group, they have other groups. I've been invited to their parties, but I keep missing some odd reason. I'm always out of town, and I keep telling this person, please don't make them when I'm out of town. When I was in Kenya, they had their major meeting, like their
Yeah.
once a year meeting.
Yeah.
Next weekend, when I'm going to Afros and Audio, they're having one where the high schools, all the high schools that they went to, there's the older generation, they're being represented. They're meeting up and they're hanging out together, and they're going to talk about the high schools. They're going to, hang out. Then they have their other smaller groups that come out, and they all throw parties. If you're a Ghanaian, you gonna party all summer.
The Canadians love to party.
You, they lie to you. They have party after party after party. Then the Cameroonians, man,
Oh,
Cameroonians, they ooh,
those
I think
people.
3 weeks ago, no, last month, a month ago, they had a party here in Dallas. I saw the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They were off the chain. I think us Kenyans can't even get there. No, no, we have ours, a little bitty here, but no, 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 not on that scale.
Not
But
the
what I'm
Cameroon.
trying to say here is, you know, you're right. Start from what is here locally, and then
Yeah.
go learn about the people around you, and then now you can go to the country, because now you'll meet people, and you're always going to be taught about the culture. And with us Africans, if somebody is new and comes to your home, and you're in Africa, they'll come there, and if you know a bit of language, and you
Mm-hmm.
speak in Cameroonian, whatever, people are happy about that. They know
Mm-hmm.
that not yes, there are bad people out there, they're bad characters. We'll agree that to that, but you'll always get that sense of, we want you to feel good so that when you go back, you're
Mm-hmm.
giving out a good impression. It
Mm-hmm.
happens all the time. We
Mm-hmm.
always want you to be happy when you leave our homes, full, you know, they'll make
Mm-hmm.
you comfortable. So when you go back, you tell people, hey man, you know what? Africa is a good thing. And I think
Yeah.
that's why they came to colonize us, because we
Yeah.
told them, hey, come in, we'll offer you
Perfect.
all this. Food is here, eat to your fill, you know, w- have a place to sleep. That's it. And when
Mm-hmm.
you know that, that's the way they found themselves wanting to stay there and not want to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah. And I think what I love about the African community as well is they want you to bring friends. So when I'm invited by like my Kenyans, I don't really have anything like if I have a buddy who's never been to Kenya and wants to, I'll invite him. I don't even tell my Kenyan, but I'm just bringing somebody. Like, bring them. Yeah, that's their attitude with when you're with Africans because the more that we can engage and live community together, we live out Ubuntu, right? Because what's the part of that is my friends are your friends and your friends are my friends, right? That's why we live in that culture. Man, we are we Man, we got like 6 minutes. We've been having such a good conversation. Boy, I am coming. We're gonna do this podcast thing. And we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna have so many conversations, controversial and everything like that. Let me speak to one thing that's maybe I don't know if it's controversial, but I want to. It's been kind of um, something I've been thinking about is elitism. Because we talk about Western elitism, right? Do you think there's an elitism that existing in Africa of the, again, have and have nots? You look at, because one of the things I've been doing a lot of reading in areas that I'm not really good at, but I think that I'm getting better and learning is, what kind of business investments that happen in Africa. They always happen within the cities, which I understand because I mean, that's the corporate economic hub. But I'm finding that it happens among friends, like an African who went to study in Europe is going to be, have those relationships that may help him, get some Series A or Series B funding in whatever initiative he's doing. But I'm also finding this difficulty that it doesn't really spread out into the greater community to elevate them. And then what you end up having is a lot of nonprofit or organizations who are more around kind of this, charity in whatever form, but it can also create dependency. And how are we Africans who are well to do are being the ones in order to care for our own? Does that make sense?
When you throw in so many things at one time, I'm like, wait.
All right, take a little nugget and we're going to bring it onto another platform, brother. Let's go.
Yeah, let me put it like this. I'm going to break
Okay.
it down quickly as I
Okay.
can.
Break it down. Yep.
First time those things that happen with people who are from the United States. One thing is United States is an equalizing factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kenyans from different places, and when we go to Kenya and we are in the city and we decide to do something, it's a diverse culture. So we come in, we talk about what our experiences are, and if you're trying to help out the rest of the country, remember, I'm from the coast. I can meet somebody who's a Kisi, the one you met from a different part, a Luo, and you come together. We're all creating one thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But one thing that the common denominator is we were out in the United States. Same as when people grew up in the city. You meet
Yeah.
in the city, you all now become
That's good.
together, either
Mm-hmm.
married, whatever, and then you create this ecosystem where when you start doing this organization, when you help out, it moves around and spreads out. So there's
Correct.
that
Okay.
advantage of it. It's kind of like the Ubuntu. Now, I don't know about with elitism. Elitism, the thing about elitism is it's a very tricky thing.
Mm-hmm.
Comes with perception,
Hmm.
how you perceive yourself. Everyone has that elitism. We have it in our country. I'm sure it's in Chad, and it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
in Nigeria. In all countries, they have that. And then see now when you break it now in terms of countries, in between your countries you have that, in between your communities you have that. I didn't realize that, but my sister told me we are part of our Mijikenda 9 tribes. They say
Hmm.
we're the most proud people. I never realized that, but she said it, and I look around, I'm like, you know what, you're right, but I'm not really that proud. But it's what it is.
Yeah.
And this is one thing, I'm going to bring it to where we say Ubuntu. Ubuntu
Hmm.
is the
Bring it
thing that
in.
brings us together, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why we have the gala. I'm going to be volunteering. I love to volunteer. I
Yeah.
That's my number one thing. I like to volunteer. I like to do things that help other people. Now, if I'm volunteering, it makes me talk to people, be around people, and learning more people. If I'm going to sit down in a corner, I'll be in the corner with you. Like, sometimes you get into conversations with you and sit on that corner and start laughing, and we forget that there's another group of people that's on the other
Oh, we
side.
did. Yeah. I got in trouble for that at the gas galley. Yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
But if
Yeah.
I'm volunteering, I'll be working around, so I'll be able to talk to
Yeah.
other people, and that's why I think the Ubuntu Gala is a great way of
Yep.
bringing Africans together. I think part of the think tank when it was formed, if you have these galas, they will bring diversity and bring the Africans together for one purpose, that we learn about each other.
Mm-hmm.
We finish up the year by saying, hey, this is what we've done for the whole year. We fundraise, and then these are the things that help bring other programs to come through.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that about African Think Tank.
Yep.
I think
Sweet.
that's going to be our mic drop, to be continued, right?
To be continued. And I'm glad you brought. I learned so much from you. I think we're able to people able to ask questions, look at the different perspectives. But I like how you brought that all together under the realm of Ubuntu, and ending it with the gala, which is November 15th. Tickets are still on sale. Get your tickets. This is as Sidoni, who just is online. Hey, Sido, our boy here, he came up and showed out. Is about the excellence that Africa has to present across many different industries, across different skills and talents that we want to share with one another, but really share with the communities that we are part of. And so you've spoken well to what the gala is represents, and the fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be educational. It's going to be eye opening. So please get your tickets for the African Think Tank Gala November 15th. You're going to meet my boy Sambaza, who will be there. We do need volunteers, so definitely go on the African Think Tank and website, and you can volunteer, and invite friends, invite individuals who want to know about the continent, and have not had the opportunity to be around the diversity of Africa right here in their backyard. You could bring them, and then other Africans who are looking to find community. So it's really open to that. So thank you for landing this conversation. Thank you for coming on, because I'm definitely, you and I will be. Oh, Kenya in the house. Man, we can come here. Everyone's. I know. See, don't even raise your Cameroonian flag. I don't. I know it's there. We don't see it. I should have brought my Chadjan flag. It is a flex. Not a lot of Chadjans. We're out there, but we're just kind of in the, you know. But I like what you're doing. I like your podcast. I think there's a uniqueness to it which really talks about some very hard things, because I've listened to some of those conversations. Oh, they're sitting, and they're difficult. And sometimes I want to be in those spaces where, like, oh, we're here challenging and having diversity and opinions and this, but still bringing Ubuntu. And we need to get more of those things out, right? So I will leave it at that. Hey, you have the last word. Talk to everyone who's been listening. Um, Oh, talk to everyone who's been listening. And what would be your last word of encouragement and advice? Yeah.
What I want to say is everybody join into my podcast, Sambaza Podcast, like and
Mhm.
subscribe. That's what I need. I'm an indie podcaster, so I don't earn any money yet. So if you guys come and support me in any way, I'll be grateful. One other thing is we're all Africans and we're all human beings. We have to have grace with each other, and we also have to learn to live with each other. Always give each other space and time to understand where they're coming from, and also to be able to open your eyes to what they have to say and what you have to receive from them.
Mhm,
Yes,
mhm.
it may not be nice, may not come off nice, but just learn with each other. One thing that you always have to look at is food. Food will bring people together.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Cameroonians have something great. We did a festival, and they
Yeah.
had something that where we make maize, corn. That's maize, corn, and beans. They
Yeah.
make corn and peanuts, which
Huh.
was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and boiled. And
Yeah.
mwah,
Oh, the
loved it.
Cameroon food, bro. Living next to Cameroon, Nole. Oh, bro.
Ah,
They can, man. They can cook.
so with ours, we have the pilau and everything, but bring in food. Actually,
Hmm.
if you ever want to have fun with an African person and be together as Africans, exchange foods. That
Yeah.
is one way to getting through everything. And with that, thank you so much. And we'll see you at the Ubuntu Gala. And for everyone with the African think tank, I think this is a very purposeful place to be at. And
Hmm.
if you're an African, you need to get in and see what this group is all about. It's
And
one great
yes.
organization.
And even if you're not African, like you were saying, we welcome you.
Oh,
Come. We want you to be in this space. We want to inconvenience ourselves so that you can join us and learn about it. So we'll do that. And then I think there's elections in Cameroon. So they're hoping for a new president this coming Sunday. I think it's October 12th, you
yeah.
know.
I wasn't. Remember, I said policies, politics, and policies. I don't want to get into that because that's
We
a
won't
whole
get into it. We won't
Yeah.
get into it. But
Next
yeah, but
next time. Next
yeah.
time. All
Next
right.
time. Next
All
time.
right.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us. Guys, join next week for a great conversation. It's going to be really interesting. Sambaza, this other guy I mentioned in the beginning, I don't know his step. I don't know who that dude is, but Sambaza is his name. Hey, much love. Thank you,
All
brother.
right. Much
All
love to
right.
you guys.
See
Take
you.
care.
Thank you, buddy.